Welcome to Module 6, everyone. I want to, first of all, thank everybody for their hard work on the midterm exam. I know exams can be stressful. I chose not to administer a proctored exam in the hope of maybe taking away some of that stress, give you a week to do it on your own. I naturally expect really high quality work on those midterms, and I'm looking forward to reading them. I hope you found, especially doing the essay, an interesting challenge. We will be using the same format for the final exam, so there'll be no surprises on the final, except of course we'll be covering different material over the last section of the course. We have 4 more weeks to go in the course, and we still have quite a bit to cover. And I hope you found the first half of the course interesting, and likewise we'll find the material we're going to be covering in the second half interesting as well. Actually, it's a little bit less than half. We've got 4 weeks, so it's slightly less than half. We're over the halfway point. Last week we looked at race, ethnicity, and immigration, and I'm sure those of you who've been following the news, I know some of you are so busy you don't have time between school and family and work, but if you have been following the news, immigration over the past few years has been an important topic, and it goes back before the Trump administration or the Obama administration. Back in the Bush administration, the second Bush administration, John McCain and Ted Kennedy, both late senators, no longer alive, put together a bipartisan immigration bill, but it went nowhere. And we still have been unable to put together a comprehensive immigration bill. It's something the country desperately needs, and unfortunately Congress is not making any progress toward it because Congress is so polarized these days, more so than in the days when McCain and Kennedy put together their original plan, although it still went nowhere. So I hope you found the information on those topics to be informative in thinking about what we are confronting as a country with regard to race and ethnicity. The discussion was very interesting. You were asked to pick a couple of race-related problems and discuss them. And the problems you picked and the way in which you analyzed them and the suggestions you made were, by and large, really excellent. Overall, the class did a terrific job on that. And some of them were well-developed, lengthy, and detailed. Really, really outstanding work, and thank you for investing the time and effort to put so much energy into and thought, critical thinking into those. So this week we turn our attention to gender inequality and sexual orientation. And again, both of these are important topics that have routinely been in the news now for several decades. We still have lawsuits being filed regarding gender inequality in the workplace, disparate pay and compensation for males and females. So this is something we continue to grapple with, and similarly with sexual orientation, although the Supreme Court several years ago ruled that same-sex marriage cannot be prohibited by the states, sexual orientation is still a contentious issue. For instance, there are still quite a number of states that have no civil rights protection regarding sexual orientation, which means that an employer can fire you simply on the basis of finding out that you are not heterosexual. They don't need any other cause. We have federal legislation that prohibits this kind of discrimination when it comes to race, ethnicity, religious belief, but we have no such legislation at the federal level prohibiting states from that. So there are still places where your sexual orientation can be the reason why you get fired, irrespective of the quality of your performance on the job. So you have some opportunity to think more about both gender inequality and sexual orientation in the context of the workplace and in other contexts as well. We'll also have a discussion, as always, and I have found, I don't know how you feel about the discussions, but I have found those to be often the most interesting part of the course. I think I mentioned this previously. Some of your work in the discussions has been really interesting to me as your instructor. I always learn from my students every term. Some of what you post is not only well crafted, but is reflective of significant college level critical thinking, which I greatly appreciate. I hope you are all working on your papers. We have 2 more weeks. You've had quite a bit of time to be thinking about and preparing your paper. We're coming into the last 2 weeks, so I hope you are staying on top of that. Don't let it go to the end. I don't mean to keep harping on that. I know I've mentioned it before, but the best work usually is not work that's done in the last 24 hours. I posted the instructions for the paper in week 1 because I know how many other obligations many of you have, and I didn't want to have the paper sprung on you in the last few weeks of the term before it was due. So it's due at the end of Module 7. We're now going to be entering Module 6. So you have all of this week and all of next week. It'll be due Sunday at the end of Module 7. Not this week, but next week. And of course, if you have any questions about the paper, feel free to give me a call or send me an email. I'll be happy to do my best to clarify whatever you need by way of preparing your paper. Okay, that's it for this week, and as always, I look forward to interacting with you on the discussion board. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week.